Well, good morning, guys. I'm excited to be on here to talk to you this morning. I want to ask you to do me a favor. I want to try to see if I can get 5 people to share this. So click share, especially if you watch it and then you feel like the content is impactful. Click share so more people can see this. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about life and marriage because that's my thing. I think that it's time that we start thinking about how to iterate our marriage. So what is an iteration? An iteration is a new version of something. So in the development world, whether it's software or products, they go through iterations, right? The design team comes up with an idea. It's not great, but it's a foundation. And then over time, they have iterations of that same thing until it's ready to go to market. And then even after that, there continue to be iterations, right? Version 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, 3.0, whatever. We're up to like the iPhone 12. Those are iterations of the original iPhone. But what about your marriage? Are you iterating it? Are you changing it? Is it growing? This is Monday morning, guys. This is a week that you can start now deciding that you are going to go through iterations of your marriage, right? You're not with the wrong person. You haven't lost love. It's possible to get all that back. We just have to change how we do life, and understanding that our marriage isn't static is where we start. You know, I have an idea in life. My philosophy is if I'm not changing, I'm dying. I don't want to be the same guy 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 5 years from now as I am right now, nor do I want to have the same marriage. What about you? Do you ever feel like that your marriage is just stuck, like right where it is, or maybe it's on the decline? You know, we gotta look at things in such a way that we realize that we have the power to change that. Our marriage can get better, but you got to shift your perspective. What are your thoughts? I mean, what do you think about marriage? I'd love to hear your comments. Is it possible to make changes? Is it possible to have incremental um, modifications in how we do life, how we interact, so that we reinvent our marriage so that it looks different a year from now than what it does right now? Because, guys, a lot of marriages, maybe not yours, a lot of marriages out there are suffering. Like, people are hurting. And so I want to share with you a couple of ideas that I have for how you can go about reiterating or newly iterating your marriage. When I say reiterate, I don't want you to iterate the same thing where it stays the same, right? We got to be growing and changing. But one of the things that I think that's important for you to do as an individual, as half of your marriage, is that you have to look to God and ask Him to show you your imperfections. God, like, search my heart. Show me where my weaknesses are. Show me my character flaws. I've heard it said that our ability to perceive our own flaws or our own sin is as accurate as a carnival mirror. What do you think about that? I think it's true. I think there's been so many times in my life that, man, I think I'm doing things right. I think I'm going by the book. I think that I'm being the best version of me. And then I get some insight and it's like, no, man, my thinking was screwed up. What was I thinking? I thought that was okay. I thought that that response was justified. So I think we have to look to God. That's my worldview. You can figure out what yours is. But I think that we have to look to God to say, God, search my heart. Show me where I'm breaking down. Show me where I'm not living life the best way that I could. Reinvent me. Make me a new creature, right? Paul talks about that. We are new creatures. So I think that we first of all have to start taking an honest look at what are my character defects. That's hard, guys. I don't want to see that in me. I want to think I'm perfect. I want Megan to think that I'm perfect. But yet, I'm not. And my guess is you are not either. So that's thing number one. Take a look at God, take a look at God's word, ask for his help, right? Pray, God, show me, and then have eyes that are open to see that. The first time somebody confronts you with maybe a character defect, a flaw, don't immediately get defensive, right? Like, actually process it and go, oh, okay, well, maybe my prayer's being answered. You like my mug? I love it. It's my favorite. The second thing that I think that we have to do is I think that we have to be willing to get vulnerable. We have to get to a place, and you might not be there right now. I realize that. But we got to set a goal. And the goal has to be to get to a place where my spouse and I can be vulnerable with one another, where I don't have to pretend, put forth an image where I'm always right, I always get it right. If she's attacking me, she's wrong, right? We have to get to this place where we can be vulnerable, where I can share my life experiences and say, hey, this is why I view the world the way that I do. I'm kind of messed up. This is what my childhood looked like. So have a little patience with me. I'm trying to grow, but here I am, I'm being vulnerable with you, and create this environment, what the scientists would call the milieu, right? That environment in your relationship where you guys get the privilege of being vulnerable with one another, and you develop this trust to where you know that your spouse is not going to hurt you with that vulnerability. And you might not be there right now. I'm not saying today is the day that you just rip off all the clothes and go, here I am. And because your spouse might not be ready for that, if you guys haven't cultivated that culture within your marriage that says it's safe for us to share our true selves with one another, then wisdom would say, let's work towards that. Let's take baby steps. I don't want to put you in a situation in which all of this backfires. So I think it's small incremental improvements, growing that ability to be vulnerable with one another. And I'm telling you, if you've not experienced that, you have no idea what a blessing that is. You really don't. It's amazing. It's amazing to be truly known by your spouse and yet still loved, warts, blemishes, scars, and all. You might have scars that your spouse doesn't even know that you have. You might have wounds from your childhood, and you've never felt safe telling your partner about those. I want to see you get to a point that you have a relationship where you know that you can share openly about how you feel, what you're experiencing, what you've been through in the past, and that you know that that's going to be that chemical bond that continues to strengthen for you two over time. So the first thing was look to God, ask him to point out your flaws. The second thing was to learn how to be vulnerable with one another. The third way that I want you to begin today, this week, iterating your marriage is learn grace. Without grace and forgiveness, you don't really have much of a shot at having a wonderful marriage. If anything that your spouse does, you're going to continue to hold it over his head. If anything that your wife ever says to you cross, you're going to bring it back up 3-6 months later. You got to start there. You got to start with showing grace and love, because I got news for you. You are married to a broken, flawed human being. They are going to hurt you. Even me. I'm broken, guys. I screw up. I let my pride and my envy and my jealousy swell up. I let my road rage kick in sometimes. I don't always get this right. Megan knows. She'll tell you, or hopefully she doesn't tell you. But she knows all of Debani's flaws, my character defects. And together we work on making those less impactful over time, because I want to grow. And she knows that. And so she can come to me with love and allow me to be vulnerable, because I know that she's going to show me grace. Now, grace doesn't mean that you let your spouse get away with whatever. Doesn't mean that, grace says that your spouse is talking to someone of the opposite sex and they share with you that. And you're like, well, okay, here's some grace. No, there can still be accountability. There should be. We need guardrails in life. Grace does not mean no guardrails. Forgiveness does not mean no consequences. What it does mean is, in spite of your flaws, I will continue to show you love. And what is love? Love is really, when you boil down to it, it is continuing to value the other person and not devalue him or her. Let me say that again. Love is continuing to value your partner and not devalue your partner. That doesn't mean no consequences. That doesn't mean that we don't have an out of bounds line. Doesn't mean that I just accept whatever happens or that I become a doormat at all. But what it does mean is that I continue to show that person love, value, that I don't attack that person's character. I can attack the behavior, and we can go over ways that we can do that in a loving manner. I got a 12-week coaching program that I put together. We discussed that in there, how to have difficult conversations. If you're interested in seeing if that's something that can work for you, shoot me an email, d@dbonnie.com, and we can have a conversation, see if that's a fit for you. But guys, everything that we're talking about today is learnable. You can learn to go through iterations of your marriage where it keeps getting better and better and better. There are little embers there, right? Little embers in your marriage. And we got to fan those. We got to allow that flame to be there to ignite it so you have this amazing relationship. Guys, I love you. I hope this blesses you. Click share. Come over to YouTube. Check out D-Bonnie Ignite Your Marriage. Or if you prefer podcasts, there's a podcast by the same name. You can find that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, a couple other ones, I think. Listen, I love you. I hope this helps. Have a beautiful day. Let's go kill it this week.